A letter just popped in through the post and it was saying that your household has been selected to take part, and it sounded quite interesting to me.
I kind of felt like, oh God, am I going to feel like an imposter? But they kind of reassured you from the get-go, like, you don't need to be an expert to take part.
It was really interesting to learn the sort of basics and then off the back of that give our suggestions.
We appear to be being listened to by the Environment Agency.
So we set up citizens panels in 4 locations: the Thames and the Humber estuaries, the River Severn catchment, and Yorkshire.
For people who live in those 4 areas around the country, climate change will mean changes to their livelihoods, their landscapes, where they live, how they work. So there needs to be some really big decisions about what to do in the future. If the authorities are going to make decisions about what the future looks like, it's really important we talk to people who will be affected and get their opinions.
I feel sort of reassured in a way that local authorities want to listen to me and want my opinion.
Citizens panels bring together a real diverse range of people.
We often find ourselves within quite a small industry talking to people who are already knowledgeable on the subject, people actually working primarily in the flood risk area. We're really wanting to make sure that we get a more balanced view.
It would give us an opportunity to hear from people who wouldn't ordinarily get involved in community events or conversations about flood risk.
We brought them together either online or in Thames they came together face to face.
The idea is we talk to them about adaptation pathways and some of the challenges that we face.
We don't know how bad climate change will be or how fast it will happen.
An adaptation pathway allows us to think about the actions that we might need to take when certain trigger points are reached.
The first part of the panel discussions was getting to understand the subject.
I've worked in London for 20 years and there was so little I knew about, River Thames.
We had expert witnesses coming and presenting to the panel members and the opportunity for the panel members to ask questions.
I was there to tell the participants about the roles of local authorities in managing the River Thames.
I was asked to present the farming view of flooding in South Yorkshire.
Talking about what is possible, what isn't possible.
What actions can we take to reduce flood hazards?
The whole process was not intimidating. It was there to help us to come forward with our ideas and the information that we've gathered and what we know, and to bring it to the forum.
We talked about planning for the future, but also the responsibility of the planning authorities as well, and building in floodplains. That was another concern that was brought up by the panellists.
Oh, for the first 2-3 weeks, I couldn't stop talking about the estuary.
The value lies in their ability to cross-examine an expert and ask them questions.
The second part was about discussion, enabling the panel members to discuss, what might this mean for instance, a farmer or for somebody who lives in an area that's prone to flooding?
Often in village hall type events, you get the people with conviction and they've got very strong views. Whereas the citizens panellists were more like having an informal chat over a pint at a pub. I sensed that people were more prepared to listen to one another.
You had people who came with an open mind and were able to really embrace and upskill themselves on the knowledge that's needed to be able to have informed discussions and make informed decisions on the future.
The final concluding part was effectively asking the panel members together to write a set of recommendations which were then presented to the teams in each of the adaptation pathway areas.
It gives us something to use in our conversation with our politicians. There is a public understanding of this issue, actually, and it's worth having that conversation. It's maybe not as contentious as you might think.
It feels like it's not often citizens get to have that kind of say or input, so it felt quite empowering.
The citizens panel was a really useful way for us to be able to talk to the community.
The Humber 2100 Plus project covers a really large geographical area. There are around 500,000 people living in the patch that we cover. It's been quite challenging for us to reach that many people and to get perspectives from all the different communities within the area. It was really helpful to us to make use of the Citizens Panel process to work with people across such a large geography. So I'd recommend it to other projects who are working on a large strategic scale on quite complex issues.
Many of the panellists, and certainly in some of in the recommendations, are keen to find solutions to continue to support the farming community and ensure we can continue to deliver food, but also protect the environment, which was very comforting and reassuring.
The members of the community were actually more open than we might have thought to some of the more innovative ways of managing flood risk that we will probably need to consider in the future. For example, thinking about natural flood management or changing the way that we think about using land.
The thing that we've really taken from the session was just how big the appetite for knowledge is from the community.
That 2 weekend definitely has been of value to me as an individual.
It's really helped the project team to better understand the perspectives of local communities.
The idea of bringing a wide range of personalities into a room seemed to work really well, and I think we can definitely take that forward into our engagement so we can really reach out more deeply into communities maybe than we'd anticipated and make sure that they're being heard because they want to listen and they want to interact.
The recommendations that the panel made will steer our thinking to make sure we're taking account of that broad set of views, and that particularly while we're engaging with people, we're engaging them on the issues that matter most to them. Sometimes that's not the things that we initially think we should tell them, but actually there's more personal, more what does it mean for me? Not why are you doing it, but what does it mean for me? And that was really important to hear from the panel.
It's helped us to rethink our engagement strategy with local communities.
And at the end of the day, making sure that the decisions that government make, whether that be at national or local level, are informed and do reflect those local choices.
Look, we've got a vision. This is the route map that we may take to get to that vision. It's not without some challenges, and we're not clear on all the solutions. But are you willing to come on that journey with us? The outcome is value and it's well worth the effort.
I know it's a pilot, but I hope that approaches like this carry on because it has helped me to feel more optimistic and motivated. It's like, oh, I'm actually being listened to.